let's move off. We don't need to discuss the Illuminati. All right, this is James' favorite topic of the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We're bringing up the Christian Wood trade. And because James is a Rockets fan, a Rockets writer, I'm unfortunately also a Rockets writer. You could say we're rocket experts, potentially even rocket scientists, but not the smart ones.
In my opinion, we're a Rockets podcast, personally.
Yeah, well, some of our listeners will love hearing that. Yeah, Rockets podcast. Let's go. Like the views. All right. Christian Wood trade. You have big feelings. I know you do. You've written about it. Let the people know, one, where to find your Christian Wood article or articles. I know there's been many. And what do you think of the trade?
Yeah, so if the Dream Shake, that's where you can find my recent Christian Wood piece. Was the Christian Wood trade a case of addition by subtraction? I think is the title. And what I think of the trade is that it was a case of addition by subtraction, realistically. The only thing, if there's a lesson for the front office to take from this, it's that maybe trading him earlier could have yielded some value, right?
I feel like I wrote that article and you also wrote that article like over a year ago for Space City Scoop.
Right.
No, that's right. You were working for me.
Dude, well, that's really
people fucking came after us.
They did. That's the foundation of this whole podcast. Really, is that we agreed that Christian Wood should be traded, right? Yeah.
And wait, is the podcast breaking up now?
No, we're not. We've evolved, but dude, that was ahead of the 2021 draft. Either one of us would have traded them, and like there could have been value, man. We could have got a package. People were saying stuff like Miles Bridges and a pick. That was before Miles Bridges broke out. And it probably wasn't going to happen. But, if that's the rumor, you can assume that PJ Washington in a pick is a possibility at least, or the other favorite was Kuminga. People, we're going to get Kuminga, Wiseman, and Moody. Probably we were never going to get Kuminga, but we could have got Wiseman and Moody, I bet. Now, we got Boban Marjanovic in the 26th pick. So that aspect's a little frustrating, but I'm so fucking glad this guy's not on the Rockets anymore, man. That's all I really care about. I've never seen a guy's play infect a team this way, to be honest, in my opinion. At least the Rockets. In all my years watching the Rockets, I've never seen a guy who so frequently creates a 5-on-4 situation on defense. I've never seen a guy who, when their star rookie has the ball, he calls for it every goddamn time, just, I don't know. Some people will argue that we don't know him. We don't know what his attitude actually is, whatever. But what I saw on the floor left me feeling pretty much sick on a nightly basis. So I'm really glad he's gone, man. It's beautiful.
So I love it. I love how much you have grown to hate Christian Wood. We both saw this, I think, early on. The value in trading Christian Wood was that he was coming off a really good season. All of those concerns that we learned last season about his defensive effort, his IQ, in terms of just fitting within an offense and making passes, kind of understanding his role within a team, were not good. And they were exposed last season on a bad team where presumably you would have needed him to do a lot more to kind of be like, oh, wait, this guy is an all-star caliber player. He's just a dude who is very good at doing supplementary skill things to the point where he can have all-star, quote unquote, looking production. But outside of that production you see on the box score, he gives you nothing. He's the classic case of he's like a stat patter that understands that efficiency is important.
Well said.
And I think that's what was revealed. And NBA teams, they use their analytics, but they also have scouting departments and they watch the games. And you're right. Every missed shot, he put his arms up and stared at the referee. The dude would miss an open, uncontested 3-pointer and look at the ref being like, I got fouled. That it was one of those things there's no one around you. You couldn't have gotten fouled. He's like, it was a ghost. The ghost of Red Auerbach got me. It's okay, Christian, shut the fuck up.
You know what, man? If you made me think of something too when you were talking that, I've seen a couple people defend him by saying well, this team's a mess. There's no structure. You can't blame him. It's I'm sorry, but your average 26-year-old NBA player doesn't come into a situation like the Rockets and go, well, I guess all the fucking possessions are mine because this team's a mess. You could have brought You brought PJ Washington in. He's not going to just commandeer possessions for ISO. He's not going to out ISO Jalen Green. He's going to understand, like, hey, this kid's the future of the team. He should have the ball. I will shoot, like I will shoot when I'm open. And like I think that's how an average player, like, you're giving the guy an awful lot of benefit of the doubt to say, like, oh, well, it was the situation. He couldn't help it. Like, most players are mature enough, like, like I struggle to think of examples because it's just most players, like wouldn't land on this team, see that it's kind of disorganized and unstructured, and go, well, then that means I can get my numbers. Like that speaks poorly of him.
Yeah, he's very much he's a stretch five version of Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah.
And we kind of seen how like Whiteside got a big deal, and then like now he's basically on like minimum contracts for the rest of his career because of that. Now, granted, I will say this: I think the Mavericks, this was a very good trade for them.
I agree.
No. I mean, let me just say it's a very good trade for them. I think for a few reasons. First, whoever you're drafting with the 26th pick is almost assuredly not going to be better than Christian Wood this season. They're a team that wants to win right now. So that is an upgrade for them. They gave away 4 players to match salary. None of them played much last season at all, right? So they didn't really give away any of player that mattered to their success last season. Another thing to take into account, Christian Wood has played his entire career like he's trying to get his next contract. Like he's worried about getting the numbers to get that next contract. He's in a contract year playing next to Luka Doncic, who is obviously the best player on that team. He's going to put up good numbers and he'll probably be highly effective for him. Now, I also think the Mavericks have a varied front court where they'll be able to mix and match to essentially offset his deficiencies and kind of hide them, which is going to be good for Wood, also really good for the Mavericks. I saw some Bleacher Report article being like, Mavericks starting lineup is going to be Luka, Brunson, Hardaway, Dwight Powell, and Christian Wood. I'm like, that's probably not going to be the case. Reggie Bullock is probably going to be out there. Christian Wood will probably start at center some games, depending on the matchup, come off the bench in other ones. And, we could
as well. Kleber.
Yeah, Kleber, right? Like, I think a front court of Wood and Kleber would be like really, really, really good. I think a front court of Powell and Wood would be okay. And so he's going to be useful for them. They didn't really give up anything that was going to help him this season. But on the flip side, he's got deficiencies. You're going to have to hide him. There's going to be some playoff series where if he's not shooting 40% plus from 3-point range, he's basically not going to be playable because it's just the defense won't be worth it. And most importantly, his future contract is now their problem, because I think, like, for me, if I'm the Rockets, that's like the most important thing. Is it's like, we don't have to worry about an extension. We don't have to worry about re-signing him. We don't have to worry about losing him for nothing. That's now all the Mavericks' problem. And so people that are gassing up the Mavericks side of the trade, this guy's not has 1 year left on his deal. The 26th pick will have 4 more years on their deal. So, like, they're basically trading 4 years of a player who's probably not going to be great for 1 year of a player who's probably going to be quite good. The Rockets side of it, I think you're right. There's some addition by subtraction in that, especially developmentally, it just opens up a ton of playing time for Şengün. They're likely going to pick Banchero, and whoever, but even if they don't, chances are they'll end up with Chet or they'll end up with Jabari Smith. And like, you'd still probably not want Wood there to give him maximum minutes. And then there's the reality that the 26th pick, when you have a bunch of future picks, when you have the 17th pick, and when you have the 3rd overall pick, you now have like the ammunition to maybe trade up to 1 if you want to get Chet, which, would be cool. But also you have the ammunition to attach 17 and 26. And I think at best move up to 12. But I would say more likely, because 12 is Oklahoma City, who we'll get to shortly. I don't know if they want more picks. But, they 13, I think Charlotte has 13 and 15. Why wouldn't they listen, on one of those picks if they could, get another, still pretty high value pick and another one, maybe package it for something later. So I think it's fine. And it's at the end of the day, it's like Christian Wood's trade value wasn't going to get better playing for the Rockets this
No.
year.
Let me touch on a few things there. And it should come as no surprise that we're talking about this one in depth. But okay, for Dallas, on Dallas's end of it, right? In a vacuum, excellent trade. Like pure value wise, they gave up 4 like basically non-players and the 26th pick for Wood, right? Like in terms of straight value, no question.
Yeah, great deal on their part.
Yeah, but well, in a vacuum.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
agreeing with the parameters you're setting.
Yeah. Okay. Because here's where I'm about to go with it is this team just made the conference finals. With that said, right? Like they didn't necessarily need to do something like this. And well, let me say this. I will not be surprised if either A, Wood is seen as the main reason that they don't get as far in the postseason this year, or B, Wood is not playable in the playoffs because he's bleeding points, right? So like and now they've got this issue of like, do we pay this guy? So like, we'll see if it works out for them. They probably had to do it because the value is so good, but it's kind of like making a deal with the devil a little bit. I think, you know,
Dude, look, I agree with you on all of those fronts, but I do feel like Rockets fans have it's like Christian Wood's biggest issue in my mind was he was just the best player on a really bad team, and he should never be the best player on your team. Like that is just like clear as day.
Let's not act like he didn't have an NBA career before this, dude. The Pistons, he broke out on the Pistons. He was averaging like 22 and 9 over the last half of the season. They still let him walk. Why? Well, they could have easily retained him. They didn't want him. Philly cut him. Milwaukee cut him. Golden State cut him. Nobody's ever wanted him. He didn't start his career with the Rockets. He sucks. Like he doesn't play with any effort. He's low IQ. He's just one of those problem players. We've seen him, man. Dion Waiters, fucking Ricky Davis, like these guys, like at the end of the day, winning teams tend not to target them. Maybe he'll change. This is the best possible situation for him. I'll say that. But you know, I'm still not that optimistic. Last thing I want to touch on though, if the Rockets trade up for the number 1 pick, I bet you they take Paulo. We can make bets on this, but yeah, well, it would just be to make sure that the Thunder don't get their paws on him.
No. I mean, personally, I wouldn't trade up for the number 1 pick in this draft.
I wouldn't either. Yeah.
Just simply, unless you're like Chet Holmgren solves so many of our problems, he is worth it. Like that would be the only reason you trade up to 1 is, in my mind, get Chet. The reason you're not trading to 2 is because I don't trust the Jabari Smith Magic are going to take him at 1. I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that's a done deal. And the other thing is like, I don't believe that OKC won't take Paolo. And if that's the case, like the Rockets are going to be cool with any 3 of these guys, as they should be, because the difference between all 3 of them in terms of like, in my mind, like the value of them as a prospect, very, very, very similar.
I completely agree.
So the only reason you trade up is you're like, I desperately think Chet Holmgren solves the most of our problems. I don't know if you really want to solve all your problems, though, with Wembanyama potentially on the way, being a very similar player.
Yeah, but I just think that Stone has a philosophy, and I'm just basing this on the fact that he took Green over Mobley. But I think that his idea is to build your offense through the lottery and then build your defense through like free agency and trades. I think he wants Banchero, and then I think I wouldn't be surprised if Nerlens Noel is their starting center in a year or two. You know, like I think he'll target a 3-and-D wing eventually. Like that. That's just how I think he perceives building the team out. I don't think he's looking to trade up for a defensive anchor.
Look, if there's one thing I know, it's that the Rockets defense has sucked ass.
Oh yeah.
And like defense is really, really like the 2 best defensive teams made it to the finals.
Oh yeah.
And part of the reason that they made it to the finals, as we'll get to, is that like not only was their defense good, it was like varied and had like front court players capable of defending in space in ways that like traditional drop back guys don't. Chet, I don't know if he's going to be Draymond Green. Matter of fact, I doubt he will be Draymond Green, but I think he'll be an elite rim protector. Like he'll be more like Time Lord, where it's like he survives out there well enough, and then at the rim he is just absolutely
One of the best.
one of the best. And so like to me, he's the type of front court player that's the future of the league. These guys that are centers but can move like power forwards. And like if you want to build, I just think great offense is great, but every year you watch the playoffs and you go, the referees make great offense a lot fucking tougher. Right? Like having a great defense and a great offense is crucial. I think Stone isn't in that mindset of like, we don't need a great defensive player. This team needs a great defensive player. It's whether or not you think Chet is that dude.
But I just think that it, like, there's some truth to the idea that it's easier to find great defensive players on the margins. Like if you want to use the finals as an example, ain't no lottery picked for their defense in these finals, right? Dre obviously is like an anomaly, but Robert Williams is like, you know, he's just kind of outperforming his draft spot, but like not like he was supposed to be a defensive specialist, and he's just a better one than we thought he would be. But you know, like I wonder if Stone's thinking is like, well, we want like Terry Eason to build out our defense, you know, like guys like Terry. That. Yeah, I love Terry too. Let's move on, but I know what you're saying at the same time, and yeah.
Okay,